When we are in a period where there's a lot of dissolution happening in our consciousness, in our system, we often are being hit with flare-ups of anxiety, sometimes even panic attacks if you are new in this process of alchemy, if you're new in this awakening process. It is actually quite a normal experience. What's happening that at the moment when there is this pattern inside of us that is ready to dissolve, and so presence is becoming stronger if it comes to that particular pattern. Of course, that pattern gets really so afraid of dying, of losing control, because it has been there in your system almost all your life. So I always use the analogy of the wave that is our separate self, our survival mechanism, our ego, so to say, and that wave is nearing the end of the coast. It's going to break, and so the wave is really convinced that when it breaks, there's nothing anymore. You die. So that's what's happening when we are experiencing a dissolution of a fragmented self. You feel that, oh my God, that taunting feeling that there's something wrong, that heartbeat is racing, we start to sweat, getting anxious thoughts, all kinds of things that we can experience when we go through times of deep dissolution of the fragmented self. I just came out of the shower, so a bit sweaty, but I wanted to do this video. So yeah. So the moment the wave breaks, it is really this oh my God feeling. You're in hyper alertness. You scan for things that are wrong, that something should be wrong. But the moment we soften into that feeling of anxiety, the moment we start holding space for this precious fragmented self part, because I'm not at all about hating the ego. It is such a beautiful thing, and we need it. We need it in order to survive in this world, into the physicality. So years ago, it helped us survive. And then you come to a point where you have spiritually developed enough to say goodbye to that pattern, consciously or unconsciously, and please love it, love, be there, just like you would be there for a friend who is in panic or is fearful. Be the presence and the embracement. So like the sea, you are the sea, and when you have done a lot of spiritual work, your presence has become very strong, and you can let that wave feel, I'm gonna catch you. There is, I'm here. You will dissolve with me. You will become one with me. So that is what will soften the sometimes horror when we go through a Kundalini awakening, or we go through a dark night of the soul, and we are dissolving a lot of old ways of being, old patterns. Meditation in this helps a lot, to strengthen presence in this process, because if you are completely identified with that wave, you will increase its anxiousness, and then it will bound into panic attacks. Like in the past, when my spiritual awakening started, I didn't have enough strong presence yet, so I got in this complete panic attacks, uh, huge anxiety, racing thoughts that I was completely identified with, and it exhausted me to the bone because I couldn't ride the wave. I was the wave, so it was. If there's a complete identification, I'm not judging, because I've been there too, and I know what it's like. If there's a complete identification still with form, this process can really feel like you're literally dying, and it costs a lot of energy, and it can bring you in periods of depression, because when we don't feel that there is this divine ocean that what we are always. Of course, it's traumatic. It's very traumatic to go into this process without connecting to oneness, without connecting with source, without witnessing what is happening. So what I do the moment when there is a pattern that, for instance, now in my body, my left side, my divine feminine is really purifying, and so there is more source coming into that, but with more source coming into the left side of my being. There, separate cells need to make place, need to step aside, because there's only room for so much. So during meditation, I really drop into my body and witness through presence that left side, and I witness where there is separate cells struggling against the light, struggling against not wanting to surrender because of obliviousness. The as I said, the separate wave doesn't know any better than that is its only world, and by dropping into the body and softening into that struggle, softening into witnessing and holding space for what wants to be seen, what wants to be felt, whether it's physically, whether it's mentally, whether it's emotionally. Witnessing is so powerful. Showing the wave, there is something that is going to catch it up. It's not the end. It will come home. And that is so powerful. The moment we start softening with our presence that we are, with the presence that we are, softening into those bounds of anxiety that really flare up just before the breakthrough. I think everybody who has been encountering deep shadow work knows this. Just before a breakthrough, just before a deep renewal, there is this flare up of panic, of anxiety, of fear happening. And practicing presence, practicing witnessing what's happening is for me a daily practice to sit with, to go inwards, to meditate, and just to go in and drop into my body and just feel where separateness has a hard time stepping aside. and not getting angry at it, or being annoyed by it. It took us a long way into our lives. We in a certain period of our lives, we didn't know better. And for me, that's also a very powerful awareness, knowing that what is fighting isn't your consciousness in the here and now. In a way, it is, because you still believe in some sort of way, or else there wouldn't be this struggle, or else there wouldn't be this anxiety. But it wasn't created in the here and now as you sit here with me. It sometimes wasn't even created by you. It's just simply been mirrored, been how do you say it, replicated from your parents. So it's also no use of completely dissecting it and analyzing it, and just be present with it. Just hold space for the sensations that are there. And I know, at least for me, anxiety is one of the more difficult energies to stay present with, because it wants to do something. It wants to, there is fear, there is unsafety, so we need to act. And in that arousal, if you are really identified with it, it's hard to really drop into presence and feel, okay, I see you, I'm here for you, come home to me. Because the body wants to act. So know that it's completely normal when you're going through a period of deep transformation, of death and rebirth. That anxiety is a part of it. You're not doing anything wrong. It's very natural. But the way you go through this has many layers of grace. In the beginning, when I started, as I said to you, when I started this process, I felt I was like on this roller coaster, and I was like, it's completely. It was exhausting. It was very exhausting, and it just completely took me over. It took over my whole presence. There was no presence anymore. There was only fear and survival. So now I'm 15 years further in the process. And during those years, I have learned to know who I am. I'm presence. I'm source. So what you give attention becomes stronger. And I, like 15 years ago, I was in my 20s, and I mostly feeded my ego. So it was very strong, and presence was just a tiny little branch, and it didn't have a lot of power in my consciousness yet. And now, after 15 years of meditation, of shadow work, of spiritual practice, presence grew stronger and stronger, because I fed it. I nourished presence by doing spiritual practices, but also spending time in nature. Nature is so important to nourish the source that I am, nourish presence that I am. So now, when these bounds of deep dissolution kick in, I'm not completely taken over by it. There is a strength in the presence that I am, that keeps witnessing the whole play, that is even loving what is happening. I'm not saying 24/7, but a lot of the time it's just loving what's happening. It's witnessing, just like a mother would with her child. If a child falls and it hurts his knee and then it's crying, You're not going to say, look what you've done, it's all your own fault. No, that's not what a mother does. A mother is loving to the child. It's holding space for the experience of the child. And the more we bow and surrender to the Divine Mother, the more we inherit her qualities. Much love.